So it's been about a month since I've done an update on the Beetle, or a video. Last video I showed was me running 11.8 at 20 psi, 28 psi at the Mountain State Volkswagen Racing Association. And that was actually one of my main goals with the car, was to run an 11.8, or actually just break 11s. So I achieved that one. I have two more goals. Next one's gonna be run 11.5. And then after hitting 11.5, I would like to be able to hit anything faster than 11.3. So right now it's June. I live in New Mexico. It's like 100 degrees every day right now. And I have no intention of running the car in this kind of heat. It's just way too hot. So this is the time of year I like to splurge and kind of upgrade stuff. So in an attempt to, like, say, hit that 11.5, 11.3 range that I'm looking for, I've already started upgrading things. I've done 3 things so far. And then I've got 3 more things. And I'm just going to do a quick update to show you what those things are. So the first and obvious one is this intake manifold. I upgraded to the integrated engineering manifold, and this thing is massive. It's so much. Actually, here I've got the other manifold I used to run right here. This is the 034 Motorsports manifold. Let me sit right here and take this off. There we go. You can kind of see, it's kind of dark, just how much larger the integrated manifold actually is. It's pretty beefy. In fact, it was so big I couldn't fit it the way I used to have it. I used to have my manifold throttle body sitting over here, and it was just hitting right by the fender of the headlight. So I flipped everything around this way. Along with that, I also upgraded the throttle body. This is the 80mm from the Hemi, and before I was running 70mm from an S4. So those are 2 upgrades I've done so far. And then the third one, can't really see it down here, yeah, it's too dark, is my intercooler. Before I was running the Treadstone vertical flow 720 horsepower intercooler, and it works pretty good. But with Treadstone, when you start getting close to that horsepower number you want that it's maxed out at, you really need to upgrade. So if you're making, say, 600 horsepower, you shouldn't be running 720 because it's a good core, but it's not as good as like Garrett or Precision. And so I was looking to upgrade, and I was looking at Sheepy Built for their intercoolers, and they make stuff mostly for Hondas, but I can make them fit my car, obviously. So I was looking at running one of theirs, and right before I purchased one, like literally the week before, Treadstone had another sale on their intercoolers. It was half off, so I couldn't say no to that. And I actually bought their 1,000 horsepower intercooler. It's also a vertical flow one as well. And so far it's doing great. It's 100 something degrees here every day, like 102, and no issues whatsoever. It's actually, the radiator is doing good, so no problem with the coolant temps, and the air intake temperature is doing great. Plus with the water method I'm running, the car's loving it. No issues whatsoever. So these upgrades that I've done, the intake manifold, the throttle body, and the intercooler, I actually did before my last track day that I did. Before that track day, I was running 12.2 with 28 psi, and it's pretty quick, but I did these upgrades, and with just 20 psi, also I went to 11.8. So pretty big improvement for just 3 items that I've just done on the car. And no other real tuning besides, upgrade tuning for the throttle body. And so with those upgrades, I decided that it's time to go and just, like I said, summertime, just step it up, go and build the car up, and look for some more upgrades to do. So one of the big problems I'm having with the car is, it's not really a problem, but it's one of the reasons why I have to turn my boost up past 28 psi is that it's a log manifold, kind of tucked back there. Can't really see it that well, but that's what I'm running. It's like the ATP manifold. Works fine, does great, but I'm just concerned about the back pressure of running 32, 34 psi. So I decided to hold off and just upgrade that one. So looking at different manifold designs, with Volkswagen, the 1.8T, you can have like 3 or 4 major ones. You've got pack parts, which is a cast manifold that's really done well. It's bottom mount, and then you've got full raise, which is the like an equal length kind of manifold, and then you have force fed engineering, and then you also have, what's the other guy's name? Oh, Badger, which is across the pond. They're from England. So I was looking at all 4 of these, and decided I wanted to go pack parts. And the reason is that the Beetle engine bay is just heinously freaking tight. I mean, it's just not a very well designed engine bay. There's not a whole lot of room back there, and so it creates a lot of heat. And so I was hoping to get the pack parts manifold for the heat issue, because it's a bottom mount manifold. So the turbo would sit further down and allow for, I guess, the airflow down below to help cool the engine bay off a little bit. But after talking to Arnold, he doesn't like to sell just the manifold. He wants to sell the whole kit. I had to pass on that one because I didn't want to spend the full price on the whole kit. When I have a turbo, I have piping, I have all that fun stuff. I didn't really need all that. All I needed was basically just the manifold and a new wastegate because they were V-band. So pass on that one, so I started looking at other different options. One was full race, and I'm a big fan of full race because I come from the Honda background. My friends all have Hondas. I've seen a lot of full race manifolds. They make great power, and they last pretty well for being welded. But the price was outrageous for those things, and they also don't have the downpipe for you. So I have to make my own downpipe, which is hard here. I don't have my own welder, and I have to find someone that I trust that can do a good job here in New Mexico. So I decided to pass on that one. So next on the list was Force Fed Engineering. That's Eddie's company. He's the guy that has the red MK4 that runs 8.51. So he's the fastest currently MK4, actually fastest water-cooled Volkswagen in the country at the moment. So I was looking at his stuff. Great guy, good company, but once again, the price was just outrageous. Most of my stuff on my car is either used or I got on sale. So a lot of the parts it's a very affordable build, and that's what I'm trying to keep it as. So kept kind of keeping an eye open for his stuff, hoping maybe a sale or something like that. And one day I got lucky and found one of his manifolds on Facebook for sale. It wasn't even used. The guy had it sitting around and never actually finished his build. So here is the force fed manifold. This thing is awesome. It's got the V-band mount for the turbo. And then it also has the V-band. This is a 44 millimeter tile V-band for the wastegate. But the problem with this is actually not my manifold. My buddy Corey also was at the same time was looking for a manifold for his Beetle, because we're going to do a big turbo build on his hopefully next spring. And I figured I'll let him have it because I already had a turbo set up. I didn't really need it that bad. Wanted it, but didn't need it. Instantly regretted that one. This is a beautiful manifold. Looks wonderful. So, not mine, but thought you guys like to see this one. So, I went back to hunting down a manifold. Couldn't get a force fed one. So then I looked at Badger from Europe. Good manifold. Lots of guys over there have used it, making good power. But it was a little bit cheaper than force fed too, but after the shipping, you know, it was going to be expensive. So I decided just to go and pass on that one as well. And then kept looking around, was looking at custom ones, and eventually, from Mike Hood from Ringer Racing, fell into the GDL. So I looked at their manifolds, a lot more affordable. No one's had any issues whatsoever with them falling apart. They flow really well. They're actually designed exactly like the full race manifold. So I was looking to get my hands on one of those, but once again, I was trying to hold off till I could find one at a good deal or a good price, which they never have any sales. So after a couple of weeks, sitting around, found another score on Facebook, and bam, got one. This is actually a JDL manifold, the T3. So I'm kind of bummed I didn't get the V-band for the turbo, but nothing wrong with the T3. And this is a 38 millimeter wastegate for tile. So awesome score. Got this at a very good price. I think it's really nice, and it will definitely make more power than what we're currently running. In fact, Full Race did a article where they tested the ATP manifold, log, versus their manifold, and they gained like 20 horsepower with it, and that's the whole RPM band. So I'm gonna see a pretty good game with this, and I'm pretty excited. And that was with the GT3071, which my dirt was larger than, so I see even more horsepower, hopefully. And so with that new manifold design, because it sits up top, totally different setup, I'm going to redo all my intercooler piping again. So I snagged myself a nice little swirl pot for cooling. This is going to sit right in this area. And it'll get rid of my cooling ball over here. So that'll be gone. And I'm hoping to run my piping down kind of this way or across this way. So this just makes more room for everything. Get that out of there. So the guy I bought the GDO manifold from basically had it sitting around his garage for like 5 years, unused. I think he said he cranked it once or twice, and that was it. He bought a car that was a shell when he was trying to do the wiring for it, and just kind of gave up and lost interest basically. So he's parting his car out. I snagged his manifold, and at the same time he was also selling a cylinder head that was built. Well, I already have a built cylinder head that has what I have in there. The Ferrer valves, I've got the integrated valve springs, the cat cams 3658s, and it's an AEB head. So I didn't want to buy a whole new head, I didn't really need one. But what he did have that I really wanted was the integrated camshafts. So like I said, I have the cat cam 3658, and he had the integrated race street ones, the IE CVA ones. They're pretty similar to the 3658s. These have a little more duration or on the intake side. So that's pretty much the main difference from them. And apparently just by doing that, they have a little bit more power throughout the whole power band. And so that's the reason I wanted to go with them. So I begged the guy for like a month. And eventually, he sent them to me. So this is just the exhaust side. What you can see, if you can see that, this is the race cams they have. So these are incredibly hard to find. They don't make them anymore. And I'm hoping to get a nice little power gain from that as well. So hopefully after doing all these little upgrades and getting it tuned in pretty well. Now another thing I'm gonna do is I'm also get rid of my catalytic converter. Well, I'm gonna make a V-band so I can put the cat on when I'm driving on the street and take it off when I go to the track. So hopefully with all those little upgrades I'm doing, I can go from 11.8 to hopefully fasten to 11.3. That's what I'm shooting for. Now, so one more thing here. This is the clutch switch. Man, I have terrible lighting in my garage. That's not too bad. This actually is used for the no-lift shifting, and I've been having issues with that. I couldn't figure out why I couldn't get my no-lift shift to work. Turns out, because I'm using the twin disc clutch, it wasn't going all the way down, so it wasn't actually, you hear that little clicking noise? It wasn't activating it, so I didn't have any no-lift shifting. So I finally, I don't know what to me, so I realized I could just cut this down and it'll work. So next time I go out, I'll have the no-lift shifting as well, plus my two-step, plus all these upgrades. So hopefully all that will get me moving pretty good.